This is World State of Emergency. From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with another challenge for the Bush administration. Having put together one conference to advance the cause of peace in the Middle East, can the U.S. do it again? The first conference in Madrid, at which the Israelis and Palestinians sat at the same table for the first time, led to some encouragement and a lot of skepticism in both Israel and the Arab world. As ABC's John McWethy reports tonight, the Secretary of State now intends to accentuate the positive.
Although Secretary Baker is in Asia all this week, he is pulling strings from there to keep the Middle East peace process alive. U.S. officials say Baker is now trying to set up another highly publicized meeting in early December, probably in Europe, that would include not only those who attended the Madrid Peace Conference, but also a long list of other countries to deal with such regional issues as arms control, water, and refugees. As an incentive to lure some of the poorer Arab nations to sit down with Israel, sources say the U.S. is trying to put together a development fund with money from such contributors as Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. The money would be available only to those Middle Eastern countries that participate in the talks. Syria says it will not come to these regional talks until Israel proves in one-on-one negotiations that it is willing to return occupied Arab land. The U.S. strategy is to isolate Syria, making it the only Arab country of consequence that refuses to come. It is likely that Baker will take another step early next week to prod Israel and its Arab neighbors to begin those one-on-one talks. In Madrid, Baker could not get them to agree on where to meet next. Now he will try to solve that problem by inviting them all to the U.S. for talks, an invitation he hopes no one can refuse. John McWethy, ABC News, the State Department.
In the occupied territories today at Bethlehem University, two Palestinians debated what they think should happen next. One man opposed to the peace process said the U.S.-sponsored talks would not produce a Palestinian homeland. The other, in favor of talks, argued that the limited autonomy for Palestinians now would eventually result in this dream coming true. It is part of the argument many Palestinians are having among themselves. And here's ABC's Dean Reynolds.
These are heady days for the Palestinian peace negotiators. Swept up in a wave of public pride generated by their treatment as equals in Madrid and the feeling that they did their job well.
The popular support that we had is a tribute, not just to the tenacity of the Palestinian people, but to the strength of their commitment to a peace process which would safeguard their basic rights.
But the negotiating team is aware that the adulation could be fleeting if tangible results, like an end to Jewish settlements in the occupied territories, are not visible soon.
The Palestinians have already established political action committees to promote the peace process. It's a new kind of political system and possibly a future power structure.
We are trying to make our people realize that they should be patient and that the road is very long.
Left unsaid is the worry that the Palestinian negotiators could be vulnerable to violence from those who reject the peace talks. It is true that many Palestinians must still be converted to the process.
We heard on TV that there is a peace conference. So what? What's the big deal?
Some rival political factions say the negotiating team is little more than a subsidiary of Yasser Arafat's mainstream Fatah movement. Arafat may like the peace process, they say, but not everyone does.
Madrid is surrender.
Madrid is surrender, yes, absolutely. Madrid is surrender.
Right now, the Palestinians seem more inclined to debate the future among themselves than to fight about it with the Israeli army. Right now, the peace process has a chance with these people. But with even their own leaders conceding the negotiations will take time, the questions are how long their patience will last, and will the wait be worth it in the end? Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Jerusalem.